What if I told you that the one tool you rely on most for finding fish is actually your worst enemy? That the sound of your power auger ripping through the ice is the reason your bucket is empty? It sounds crazy, right? We've all been taught to keep moving, keep drilling, stay active. But today, we're going to tear down one of the most sacred beliefs in ice fishing. The idea that you have to constantly drill holes to be successful. I'm going to show you why staying put, being quiet, and thinking like a fish can put you on more bites than the guy who drills the lake into Swiss cheese. Think I'm wrong? Stick around and tell me in the comments right now, how many holes do you typically drill on a tough day? 50? 100? Let's get into it. So, where did this run and gun philosophy come from? It's everywhere. You see it on TV shows, you read about it in magazines. The pros are always moving, drilling a line of holes, checking them fast, and then moving on. It makes for exciting television. And it makes you feel like you're being proactive. Nobody wants to just sit there and freeze, right? We feel like if we're not actively doing something, we're failing. And this mindset has become so ingrained that for many of us, it's the only way we know how to fish. We've been conditioned to believe that more holes equals more opportunities. But we rarely stop to ask a simple question. What are all those holes and all that noise actually doing to the fish we're trying to catch? First, let's talk about the sound itself. The sound of an auger isn't just a dull rumble underwater, it's a violent, high-frequency scream that travels incredibly far. Imagine you're sitting in a quiet room, and suddenly someone starts up a chainsaw right next to your head. That's what it's like for a fish. Water conducts sound more than 4 times more efficiently than air. That noise isn't just a minor annoyance, it's a terrifying predatory signal. Fish are hardwired to associate sudden, loud noises with danger, like a loon diving or a pike attacking. Your auger is basically a giant dinner bell, but it's telling the fish to run and hide, not to come and eat. We've been scaring them away before we even get a line in the water. Now let's move beyond just the sound. Your auger creates a massive pressure wave. As the blades chew through the ice, they displace water and send a shock wave out in all directions. Fish are incredibly sensitive to changes in pressure. They use their lateral line to detect the slightest movements and vibrations in the water. It's how they find food and avoid predators. When your auger sends out that powerful pressure wave, it's like a sensory overload. For a sensitive fish like a walleye or a crappie, this is extremely stressful. Their instinct isn't to investigate, it's to hunker down on the bottom or bolt for the nearest cover. You've effectively put the entire area on high alert. A common argument you'll hear is, sure, it spooks them, but they come back. But do they? And how long does that take? This brings up the idea of fish memory and conditioning. Fish in pressured lakes learn to associate certain sounds with danger. The weekend roar of dozens of augers teaches them that this noise means trouble. Studies and angler observations suggest that a spot can take anywhere from 30 minutes to over an hour to settle down after a nearby hole is drilled. If you're drilling a new hole every 10 to 15 minutes, the fish in your area never get a chance to relax and resume their normal feeding patterns. You are keeping them in a constant state of fear. So let's picture what happens when you drill a lake into Swiss cheese. Imagine an entire area, maybe the size of a football field, with 50 new holes drilled in an hour. It's not just one shock wave, it's a continuous bombardment of noise and pressure. This creates what I call a dead zone. The fish that were there have either fled the area completely or are now holding so tight to the bottom that they won't even look at the most perfect presentation. You might see a mark on your flasher, but that fish is in survival mode, not feeding mode. You're fishing in a ghost town that you yourself created. The more you search, the less you'll find. So, why do we stick with this run and gun myth? It's a psychological trick we play on ourselves. It feels productive. In our modern lives, we're taught that effort equals results. Sitting still feels lazy. Drilling another hole feels like progress. It's a tangible action. We can tell ourselves, well, I didn't catch anything, but I sure worked hard for it. It's a way to justify a slow day. But fishing isn't about how many calories you burn, pulling a starter cord. It's about outsmarting your opponent. And sometimes the smartest move is no move at all. We confuse activity with achievement. We also have to consider the TV show fallacy. When you see a pro on a fishing show, they're often fishing on a private, managed lake or a remote body of water with very little pressure. The fish are less conditioned to the sound of an auger. Also, remember they're filming for hours or even days to get a few minutes of action-packed footage. They don't show you the 3 hours they sat in one spot without a bite. They edit it to look like they're constantly moving and catching. The reality for the average angler on a public pressured lake on a Saturday is completely different. Trying to copy their edited for TV strategy is setting yourself up for failure. This leads us to the most underrated skill in all of fishing, patience. Patience isn't just about waiting, it's an active strategy. It's the confidence to know you're in a good spot and to give the fish time to find you. When you sit quietly, the underwater world around you returns to normal. Bait fish relax and move more freely. Predator fish like walleye and pike feel secure enough to leave their cover and begin to cruise for a meal. By staying put, you become part of the natural environment instead of an intruder. The guy who sits on 1 or 2 holes all day isn't lazy, he understands the rhythm of the lake. So how do you find fish without drilling 100 holes? You start by reading the signs above the ice before the auger even comes out. Look at the contours of the shoreline. A steep bank likely means a sharp drop-off underwater. A long tapering point on land probably extends the same way under the ice. Look for clusters of other permanent shacks. They're there for a reason, season after season. Look at where the snow has blown off, which might indicate a current area or a structural element. Use your eyes and your brain first. A little observation can tell you more than 10 randomly drilled holes. The real work should be done before you even leave home. This is the power of pre-scouting. Get a good lake map app on your phone, like Navionics, or even an old-school paper contour map. Identify key structures, underwater points, sunken islands, inside turns and saddles between humps. These are fish highways. Instead of drilling randomly across a massive flat, you can go directly to 3 or 4 high-probability spots. Your goal isn't to find the fish. It's to find the structure where the fish should be. This turns a guessing game into a calculated plan. When you get to your pre-scouted spot, that first hole is absolutely crucial. Don't just plop down anywhere. Use your GPS to get right on top of the break line or the tip of the point you identified. This first hole is your test. Once it's drilled, give it time. Let everything settle for at least 15 to 20 minutes before you even expect a bite. This initial quiet period is critical. If you start banging around, setting up gear, and making noise right away, you're undoing any advantage you gained by being stealthy. Make your first move count, then be quiet. Your electronics, like a flasher or fish finder, are your best friend, but only when used quietly. Once that first hole is drilled, use your sonar to confirm what you suspected from the map. Are you on the right depth? Is there a good transition from soft to hard bottom? Do you see bait? Your sonar tells you if you're in a fishy-looking area. It does not mean you should immediately drill another hole if you don't see a fish. Fish cruise. They move in and out. Your job is to wait for them to come through the spot your sonar has confirmed is a good ambush point. This brings us to the soak strategy. How long should you really wait in one spot? There's no magic number, but a good rule of thumb is to give a high probability spot at least 1 hour. Fish, especially predators like walleye, have feeding windows. They might cruise through a spot every hour or so. If you drill a hole, fish for 15 minutes, and then leave, you could be leaving just 5 minutes before a massive school of crappies or a monster walleye was scheduled to arrive. You have to give the spot time to work. Commit to your spot and let it soak. We need to make a fundamental shift in our mindset. Stop thinking about chasing fish down and start thinking about luring them in. Your presentation, the lure, the bait, the scent, should be doing the searching for you. A noisy, flashy lure or a piece of bait giving off scent creates a zone of influence around your hole. You are drawing fish to you from a distance. This is an ambush predator's mindset. You find a high-traffic area, set up a tempting trap, and wait for the prey to come to you. It's a far more efficient and effective strategy than running around trying to drop a lure directly on a fish's head. Let's consider specific species like the wary walleye. Walleye are notoriously sensitive to noise and light. On a clear, calm day, they can be incredibly spooky. The sound of an auger, the shadow of you walking around overhead, it's enough to shut down the bite completely. This is why the best walleye bites often happen at dawn and dusk, when low light gives them a sense of security. If you're drilling all over the place during prime time, you're actively working against the fish's natural tendencies. For finicky fish, a quiet, patient approach isn't just an option, it's the only option. Now, there is an exception. When is it okay to move? The main answer is when you're targeting roaming schools of fish, like perch. Perch pods are often on the move, feeding on basins or large flats. In this case, drilling a series of holes before you start fishing can be effective, but the key is to drill them all at once, at the very beginning. Get your noisy work out of the way, then quietly move from hole to hole. This is a calculated grid, not a frantic, random search. You're letting the area rest after the initial disturbance, which is a world of difference from constantly drilling new holes. Let's formalize that into a technique. I call it the quiet circle, or drill and wait technique. When you arrive at your spot, drill 3 to 5 holes in a small area, maybe 15 to 20 feet apart. Drill them all at once. Then put the auger away. Don't touch it again for at least an hour, maybe 2. Start fishing in your first hole. This way you do all your loud, disruptive work at the very beginning. You then have a series of options to quietly check without ever starting the auger again. You can hop between these holes, giving each one a fair shot, while the entire zone remains quiet and calm. Another way to let your presentation do the work is to maximize your use of bait and scent trails. This is especially effective when you're staying put. Use a bait that gives off a strong scent, like a minnow head on a jig, or add a commercial scent product. Every time you jig your lure, you're releasing a cloud of scent into the water. The current, even if it's slow, will carry that scent and create a trail. Fish will follow that trail right back to your lure. You're not just fishing in a 1-inch circle under your hole. You're effectively fishing in a much wider area, using the water itself to call the fish to you. Think about the old-timers. What did they do before lightweight power augers? They used hand augers or ice spuds. It was a lot of work to make one hole. Because of that, they chose their spots very carefully. They didn't have the luxury of drilling 50 holes just to look around. They had to rely on knowledge of the lake, observation, and an incredible amount of patience. They would sit on a bucket over 1 or 2 holes all day, and they caught plenty of fish. We've gained convenience with technology, but I think we've lost some of that essential fishing wisdom along the way. Here's a real-life example I see all the time. Picture the scene. There are 2 fishermen. A arrives, fires up his auger, and drills 20 holes in a grid. He runs from hole to hole, drops his sonar in, sees nothing, and drills another 10 holes 50 yards away. He's busy all day. Fisherman B arrives, drills 2 holes near a known drop-off, and sits down. For the first hour, nothing happens. Fisherman A is laughing at him. But then, as the lake settles and the evening bite window opens, Fisherman B starts pulling up one fish after another. Fisherman A, still drilling, catches nothing. Who was the smarter angler? So let's be clear, the takeaway isn't that you should be lazy or never move. It's about being strategic and quiet. It's about understanding that your actions have consequences under the ice. The goal is to make fewer, better decisions. Use maps to choose a good spot. Drill your holes for the day all at once if you need to move. Then put the auger away and trust your spot. Let your presentation and your patience do the work. This isn't about drilling less. It's about fishing more. It's about shifting from a brute force approach to a smart, stealthy one. It's the difference between scaring fish and catching them. So let's wrap this up. We've talked about how the sound and pressure from your auger can be a massive fish repellent. We've discussed how the run-and-gun strategy, popularized by TV and our own impatience, often creates dead zones right where we want to fish. And we've laid out a smarter, quieter approach based on pre-scouting, patience, and luring fish in instead of chasing them away. The biggest aha moment here is realizing that we've been thinking like hunters on an open field when we should be thinking like ambush predators. We've been making all the noise when our greatest weapon is silence. This one shift in mindset could completely change your success rate and, honestly, make your days on the ice a lot more relaxing and enjoyable. Thank you so much for watching. If this gave you a new perspective, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that challenges the conventional wisdom. Now for the big question, are you going to park your power auger for good or just be a lot more thoughtful about when you fire it up? Let me know your honest take in the comments below.